It was the kind of winter afternoon that made the heart ache and the soul grow cold. The sky was a blanket of gray, the air sharp, biting at anyone who dared to step outside. Sam Anderson pulled his jacket tighter around his thin frame, his breath clouding in the frosty air. The tips of his fingers, numb with cold, gripped the steering wheel of his rusted old pickup as he drove down the snow-covered road. His mind was occupied with the same persistent worries that had been gnawing at him for the past few months. Bills, rent, his job at the mechanic shop, and, of course, his daughter, Emma. Emma was only 7, but already she carried the weight of the world on her small shoulders. She had lost her mother when she was just a baby, and since then, it had been just the two of them. Sam did his best to make her feel loved, to give her the best life he could, but some days it felt like he was barely keeping it together. The winter had been particularly hard, and he had spent the past few days working overtime to cover the bills. His thoughts were interrupted as he glanced in the rearview mirror. Emma was in the back seat, her big brown eyes watching the world pass by, her nose pressed against the glass. She was quiet, and that worried him more than anything. Emma had always been a bubbly, energetic girl, but lately her sparkle seemed dimmed. "Everything okay, sweetie?" Sam asked, his voice soft. Emma nodded, but Sam could tell something was off. He wanted to ask more, but he didn't have the energy. They'd be home soon. A warm meal, a roof over their heads. These were the comforts that kept him going. As the truck rumbled down the road, Sam noticed something unusual. In the distance, near the frozen lake that bordered their small town, there was a figure on the ice, a girl about Emma's age, standing alone. He slammed his foot on the brake, sending a spray of snow into the air. He stared at the girl, his heart skipping a beat. What was she doing out there? Without a second thought, Sam threw open the truck door and rushed toward the lake, calling over his shoulder, "Emma, stay in the truck, all right?" The frozen lake creaked and groaned beneath Sam's weight as he made his way toward the girl. He could see her now, standing at the center of the ice, her small body trembling. Her coat was thin, and her gloves were missing, her bare hands pressed tightly against her chest. "Hey, are you okay?" Sam called out, trying to keep his voice calm, but the fear was rising inside him. He could feel the ice beneath him crackle with every step. He had heard the stories about how treacherous the lake was, how it was never safe to walk on during the winter. The girl turned slowly, her face pale and her lips quivering. Her eyes were wide with terror, but Sam could see the silent plea in them. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Sam took another step, closer now. He could feel the ice groaning beneath his boots. It wouldn't hold for much longer. He reached out a hand to the girl, his voice soft but urgent. "Come on, it's not safe. Let's get you back to shore." Just as he reached for her, the ice beneath her feet cracked with a deafening snap. Before Sam could react, the girl plunged through the ice, disappearing into freezing waters below. Panic surged through him. Without thinking, Sam leaped forward, reaching into the dark hole where she had fallen. His body screamed in protest against the cold, but he couldn't stop. He had to save her. His arms broke the surface of the icy water, fingers scraping the frigid depths. He didn't care about the chill, didn't care about the danger. All that mattered was pulling her to safety. Finally, his hand brushed against something. With a gasp of relief, he wrapped his fingers around her jacket and yanked her upwards. The girl's face was pale, her eyes wide with shock, but she was alive. He gritted his teeth, summoning every ounce of strength he had to pull her back towards solid ground. The moment they were on the shore, Sam collapsed onto the snow, his chest heaving. His clothes were soaked through, but the girl was safe. She was shivering uncontrollably, her teeth chattering. Sam quickly wrapped her in his jacket, desperate to give her warmth. "Thank God," he whispered, looking at her as she trembled in his arms. "You're okay. You're going to be okay." After what felt like an eternity, Sam managed to help the girl to the truck. Emma was waiting anxiously, her face pale as she looked at the soaked stranger in her front seat. Sam didn't have the energy to explain. He just wanted to get the girl somewhere warm. They drove back to his small, modest house. The heater hummed in the background as Sam quickly changed into dry clothes and made hot cocoa for the girl. She was still shivering, Her eyes glazed with shock, but at least she was alive. "Thank you," the girl whispered, her voice soft and fragile. You saved my life." Sam smiled weakly. "It's nothing. I couldn't leave you out there." "I don't know what I would have done without you," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "You're a hero." Sam shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. He wasn't a hero. He was just a dad trying to make it through another winter. But he smiled anyway, knowing the girl would be okay. Emma, who had been watching quietly, now stood by Sam's side. "What's your name?" Emma asked shyly. The girl hesitated for a moment before answering. Mia Miller." Sam blinked, surprised. The last name was familiar. He had heard it before, in the news, in passing conversation. Mia Miller? The name of a famous tech mogul's daughter? The one who had disappeared a few days ago? "Mia?" Sam asked, his voice catching. The girl nodded, her eyes downcast. "I ran away. I couldn't take it anymore." Mia's story poured out in pieces, like a broken puzzle slowly coming together. She had come from a wealthy family, but her life had never felt like her own. Her father was a billionaire businessman, constantly pushing her to be someone she wasn't. There were pressures, expectations, and a life planned for her that she had never wanted. So she had run away, seeking peace and a sense of freedom. Sam listened in silence, his heart heavy with empathy. He couldn't imagine living a life where everything was dictated by others. He had always worked hard for the little he had, but his world was small and simple. Mia's world was a palace of gold and glass, a world of luxury that felt empty to her. "I'm sorry for everything," Mia whispered, tears in her eyes. "I never meant to cause trouble. I needed to feel like I mattered for who I am, not because of my last name." Sam reached out and patted her hand gently. "You matter, Mia, more than you know." The next few days passed in a blur. Mia stayed with Sam and Emma, hiding out from the press and her family's frantic search. They kept to themselves, and though Sam had no idea what the future held for Mia, he knew one thing for certain. Kindness and compassion transcended everything. Then one morning Mia received a call. It was her father. She hesitated, but then took the call. "Mia." Her father's voice crackled through the phone. "Where are you? We've been worried sick." Mia closed her eyes, her fingers tightening around the phone. "I'm safe, Dad. I'm okay." There was a long silence before her father spoke again. "I'm sorry, Mia. I never meant for things to get so out of hand. I want to make it right." Tears welled up in Mia's eyes. She had never expected this kind of response. Mia's life slowly began to change. She reconnected with her family, but on her own terms. Her father, humbled by her disappearance, realized how wrong he'd been controlling her every move. He began to support her dreams, not the ones he had mapped out for her. And Sam? Sam's life had changed, too. Not in ways he could have predicted, but in ways that mattered. Mia's family, grateful for Sam's selfless act, offered him opportunities he had never dreamed of: financial support, job offers, even a partnership in a business venture. But Sam turned them down, knowing that his true wealth was not in money, but in the love he shared with his daughter and the kindness he had shown when it mattered most. Mia remained a part of their lives, a reminder that sometimes a simple act of compassion can change everything. As Sam sat on the porch with Emma one evening, watching the sunset, he thought of all the things he'd struggled with in life. It wasn't riches that mattered. It was love, it was kindness, and it was a humanity that connected them all. Mia's life slowly began to change after her return to her family. Though she had once been overwhelmed by the pressure of expectations, she was now reclaiming her own path, one step at a time. Her father, once cold and distant, became a different man. He genuinely listened to Mia's dreams, her desires, and her voice in ways he never had before. For the first time in her life, Mia felt truly heard. She returned to her luxurious home, but it wasn't the same anymore. Mia wasn't the girl who had once been smothered by wealth and privilege. She had found something deeper, more fulfilling, something that had been missing all along: freedom and authenticity. One evening, as Mia sat down at dinner with her father, they had a conversation that would forever alter their relationship. "I owe you an apology," her father began, his voice thick with emotion. "I pushed you too hard. I didn't understand what you needed. All I wanted was for you to have a life of success. But I never stopped to think about what you wanted." Mia, for the first time, saw her father not as a businessman, but as a man who deeply regretted his actions. She had always felt like a project to him, something he could mold into a version of perfection that suited his idea of success. But now he was listening, truly listening. "I appreciate that, Dad," Mia said softly, "but I need more than what money can buy. I need to feel like I matter for who I am, not for my family name." Her father nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. "Then let's start over. Let's find a way to help you live the life you want." For Mia, this was the beginning of healing, not just from her escape, but from years of being stifled by expectations. Slowly but surely, she reconnected with her true self. She began volunteering, working with children who came from less fortunate backgrounds, and getting involved in causes that mattered to her. She used her wealth to build meaningful things, not just extravagant displays of excess. Months passed, and the story of Mia's disappearance became a faded memory in the media. Life had found its rhythm again. Mia still kept in touch with Sam and Emma. They would meet up for coffee or weekend dinners, and Emma adored her new friend, who wasn't just a rich girl. She was a genuine person who had faced struggles and fought to find her place in the world. Then, one day, Mia called Sam with an unexpected request. "Sam, I've been thinking about what you did for me, how you saved my life. I've been fortunate to receive a lot of things in my life, but nothing feels as meaningful as the kindness you showed me when I needed it the most. I want to do something for you." Sam, who had always shied away from anything resembling charity, was taken aback. "Mia, I don't need anything. I'm doing fine. All I want is to see you happy and safe." Mia's voice softened. "I know, but it's not about what you need. It's about what you deserve. Please let me help you." After a long pause, Sam agreed, though he still felt uncomfortable accepting anything from her. But Mia insisted, and a few weeks later, Sam received a letter in the mail. Inside was a check, a sum so large that Sam could hardly comprehend it. It was enough to pay off his house, clear all his debts, and ensure that Emma would have every opportunity in life. But that wasn't all. Mia had also set up a scholarship fund for Emma, ensuring that no matter what happened in the future, Emma's education would be fully covered. "She deserves the world," Mia wrote in a note attached to the check. "Just like you did for me." Sam sat in his small living room, staring at the check, a lump forming in his throat. He had never imagined that a simple act of kindness could lead to this. He didn't want to accept such a generous gift, but he realized that this was Mia's way of expressing her gratitude, not out of obligation, but out of love. With the financial burden lifted from his shoulders, Sam felt a weight he didn't even know he was carrying slowly melt away. He could finally focus on what mattered, being there for Emma and creating a better life for the two of them. As for Mia, she continued her work, using her wealth to create meaningful change in the world. She never forgot the man who had saved her life on the frozen lake. Though her life was filled with luxury, she found that real fulfillment didn't come from material possessions, but from a bond she forged with people who cared about the same values she did. In the months that followed, Sam and Emma visited Mia's family estate several times. It was a place of comfort, but it wasn't a place of perfection. The mansion was beautiful, but it was the people within it that mattered. They were learning how to live authentically, just as Sam had always done in his humble way. Sam, once a simple mechanic struggling to make ends meet, now found himself surrounded by people who had wealth, influence, and power, but it was their hearts that made them truly rich. Mia had given him something money could never buy, a chance to breathe, to dream, and to believe that good things could come from the most unexpected places. One winter afternoon, nearly a year after the incident on the lake, Sam, Emma, and Mia stood together at the same spot where Sam had saved Mia's life. The lake was still frozen over, but the air had a warmth to it now. "This is where it all started," Sam said, looking at Mia. "I never expected that a moment like this would change everything for me." Mia smiled, her eyes reflecting a deep gratitude. "And I never expected to find someone like you, Sam. You taught me that true wealth isn't about money. It's about how you make others feel, the lives you touch." Emma, now with her own bright smile, nodded in agreement. "And I'm so happy we got to meet Mia." Mia crouched down at Emma's level, her eyes soft and affectionate. "You're going to do amazing things, Emma. You have the kind of heart that can change the world." Sam felt his heart swell with emotion. He had always known that love and kindness were the most important things in life, but seeing how it all had come full circle made him realize just how deeply those values had shaped their lives. As they stood there together on the ice, Sam realized that the best part of life wasn't the paycheck, the house, or the material things. It was the moments of human connection, the unexpected kindness, the selfless gestures, the shared struggles that brought people together. Over time, Sam and Mia became close friends, partners in the truest sense of the word. Their lives, once filled with separate struggles, were now intertwined in a beautiful journey of healing, growth, and shared purpose. Mia continued to work on causes that mattered to her, using her platform to advocate for those who didn't have a voice. She built scholarships for students from disadvantaged backgrounds and funded shelters for those in need. But every time someone asked her how she had made it so far, she would tell them about the man who had saved her life when no one else would, and how his simple act of kindness had changed her world. As for Sam, he was finally at peace. He had a daughter who was thriving, a home filled with love, and a friend who would always have his back. Life had a way of surprising him, showing him that even in the most difficult moments, there was always room for hope. And sometimes, just sometimes, the greatest gift of all wasn't money, fame, or success, but the act of being there for someone when they needed it the most. Certainly. Let's continue the story further with Part 11 through Part 15. Part 11. The Unexpected Opportunity. Months passed since Mia's return to her family, and her new relationship with Sam and Emma blossomed into something even more profound. Sam had always known that his life would never be the same after that day on the frozen lake, but he could never have anticipated the door that was now wide open before him. One day, as Sam worked in the garage on a car that had been left there for repairs, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He wiped his hands on his worn jeans and pulled it out. The screen lit up with an unknown number. "Hello," Sam answered. "Mr. Anderson, this is Rachel Morgan from Miller Industries. We're reaching out to you on behalf of Mia Miller." Sam's heart skipped a beat. "Mia? Is everything all right?" "Oh, yes, everything's fine. She's doing well. But she wanted me to contact you about a potential opportunity for you. She's been impressed with your work ethic, and we want to discuss an idea with you." Sam's mind raced. Mia had been generous enough with him, offering financial help. But this? What kind of opportunity could a billionaire's company possibly have for a mechanic like him? "I'm listening," Sam replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Rachel explained that Mia had been working on a new initiative, something that blended her philanthropic goals with a commitment to sustainability. She wanted to create a network of small businesses that could work together to promote green, sustainable practices, especially in industries that were typically seen as less eco-friendly, like automotive repair. "Sam, we've been looking for someone with your background," Rachel said. "You're someone who knows the industry from the ground up. We want you to help lead the charge in making the mechanic field more sustainable without compromising quality." Sam was dumbfounded. He had always thought of himself as just another mechanic, fixing cars and keeping things running. But now, he was being asked to help make an impact on a global scale. He thought about Emma, about how this could change everything for them, and for his work. "I'll do it," Sam said before he even realized the full scope of what he was agreeing to. "I'm in." With that decision, Sam found himself at the center of a new world. He attended meetings, joined brainstorming sessions with experts in sustainability, and learned more about the business side of things than he ever could have imagined. Mia and her team had created something remarkable, a network of businesses focused on eco-friendly practices in all sectors, not just automotive industry. Sam's role was pivotal. He was tasked with setting up pilot programs for mechanic shops, where sustainable practices would be introduced, recycling parts, reducing waste, and even transitioning to electric tools and vehicles. He worked closely with engineers, environmental scientists, and even educators to create a curriculum that would train young mechanics in eco-friendly ways of working. Though Sam had always prided himself on his hands-on skills, he quickly learned that his true gift wasn't just fixing cars. It was his ability to connect with people, to understand their needs and translate that into solutions that made a real difference. His background gave him credibility among other mechanics, and his heart gave him the compassion needed to push for change. As the initiative grew, so did Sam's sense of purpose. He wasn't just trying to make a living anymore. He was contributing to a movement that would have far-reaching effects. Sam's journey was not without its challenges. He faced skepticism from some of his peers in the automotive world who were resistant to change. But he never wavered in his belief that change was necessary, not just for the planet, but for future generations of mechanics like Emma. He found unexpected support from Mia, who continued to guide him through this new chapter. They would meet regularly, sharing ideas and discussing how they could take the initiative even further. She trusted Sam completely, and he trusted her. They were a team, each bringing something to the table that the other didn't have. In one of their meetings, Mia asked Sam, "What's the one thing you've always wanted to do, Sam? I mean, outside of your work?"